move on to do a full Premier League Week 1 preview. Obviously, we're all excited for the Premier League. We got a little glimpse of that today with United taking on Fulham, but now, we get the big array of games, and we start off with Ipswich Town getting to play their first Premier League game in 21 years, taking on a team like Liverpool, who that's a good test for them, opening up their season, opening up their Premier League campaign, getting to play a team like Liverpool. That's going to be fantastic. The game will be at Portman Road, which will add that it's going to be an electric atmosphere. It'll be a 12:30 kickoff, which is not great, but it'll be an electric atmosphere. Arne Slot, we get a first look at Arne Slot. There's some public optimism regarding regarding Liverpool in terms of their chances to potentially even compete in a title race and definitely make top four. For me, a successful season for Liverpool would be top four. And the fact that it's going to be a transitioning from a manager as brilliant as Jurgen Klopp to a manager like Arne Slot, it'll be interesting. I'm also interested to see what front three does he go with. There's a lot of players that Liverpool could play. When you look at Luis Diaz, Diego Jota, Darwin Nunez, Mohamed Salah, there's some brilliant players to choose from. In that front three, you got 5-6 players that threaten to get a starting position. Who does he roll out with in the first opening day? Who is his mainstay? Who are the players that he trusts? Who are the players that he trusts to get him the results in the early games? And Liverpool, they need to build some sort of momentum in this game and the next game, because you know who they take on their third game of the season? They got that rivalry. They got the biggest rivalry probably in the Premier League. Not the biggest rivalry in the Premier League. I think even Liverpool-Everton is probably a bigger rivalry when it comes to mutual hate. But one of the biggest rivalries in the Premier League, Manchester United taking on Liverpool. So a big game coming up for Liverpool in Ipswich Town, in these sort of, when you're a team that's going to be potentially battling for relegation, trying to stay up, to stay in the league, you want to take care of your home games. You want to get 3 points as much in your home games. And if you're going up against the better oppositions, you want to aim for at least a point. And here I think if they can get the point to start off their campaign, brilliant for them. Arsenal take on Wolves. This is their first day in terms of first game for Arsenal in terms of the next battle, the next fight to stay in the to win the Premier League title. They're trying to fight off this beast in Manchester City, and they take on Wolves. These games early on in the season, they can come back to bite you. Every game is crucial, in the Premier League, in the title race, when you're competing with a team like Manchester City. We remember last year early on, Arsenal had a few nicks here and there that ended up biting them right at the end. So it's important for Arsenal to take care of these games. They'll be playing Wolves at home. We're going to get the first look at Calafiori in the Premier League. So important for them. We're going to see high-flying football. We're going to see a great atmosphere from Emirates. We're going to see great sort of style of play. Arsenal really going to be going at it, really going to be showing their ability, really going to be showing their creativity. So I'm excited for that game, of course. Everton take on Brighton. And this is a team, Brighton had a little bit of a disappointing season last season. And Roberto Di Zerbi, he is gone, and now Brighton are going to be managed by Fabian Hurzeller, who, is a little bit unknown actually, Fabian Hurzeller. Very, very unknown manager. He's 31 years old. 31 years old. And he's going to be the manager. He was the manager at FC St. Pauli in the second Bundesliga, so not real much experience there in terms of at top flight, actually no experience in terms of top flight football. Fun fact: he was actually born in the U.S. He was born in Houston, Texas. He's the youngest head coach, the permanent head coach in Premier League history. I really don't. I really don't know much about him, so I'm interested to see what he implements at Brighton, and they'll be taking on an Everton team that I think was a little bit better than years past. The team in Everton this season, I think that they'll finally be able to get out of the relegation race. I liked what they've done in this summer in terms of the transfer window. This is going to be their final season at Goodison. They open up their season at Goodison Park, last opening day game at Goodison ever. So yeah, we'll see. That's gonna be a good game. Newcastle take on Southampton, newly promoted Southampton. Southampton could be battling to stay up this season. First look at them at the Premier League this season. Newcastle, last year disappointing season, but they had to, they suffered a lot of injuries and they had Champions League football to worry about. Now it's a little bit different this season. I think Eddie Howe wants to get back to the magic that he had early not last year but the year before. Manager that can really get his players playing better than the sum of their parts. They played this game at St. James Park. I expect an electric atmosphere, high flying atmosphere, hungry atmosphere, and I think Newcastle, because of that atmosphere we saw last year, despite that they got outplayed by Aston Villa at times, the opening day atmosphere took them home. I think it'll be the same in this game. I think they will trounce Southampton. Nottingham Forest take on Bournemouth. I think this is the year that Nottingham Forest might just might just go down. They've been surviving. They've looked uninspiring under Nuno Espirito Santos. Bournemouth had a really successful season last season, but have lost Dominic Solanke. We'll see how they're able to transition past not having Dominic Solanke. Aston Villa, they open up their campaign in their first season after reaching the top four with Unai Emery. They take on West Ham, a new look West Ham that'll be managed by Julian Lopetegui after David Moyes was sacked. So I'm gonna be very interested to see how Julian Lopetegui he opens up his campaign as West Ham manager. And then Aston Villa, they're going on the road to West Ham. They're gonna be the favorite. They're gonna be expected to win this game just because of the nature of Aston Villa. How good they've been, but they have a little bit of difficulty they need to transition back. They lost Douglas Luiz, which is a very big player for them. So yeah, we'll get to see. I think this was a very tight game, one of the tighter games this weekend. Brentford take on Crystal Palace. Brentford, they might find themselves a little bit in a relegation battle this season. I think Crystal Palace, they're gonna be floating in that mid-table sort of position as they always are. That's gonna be a decent game. I'll hold this one for the last week. It's the best game of the weekend. But should be the best game of the weekend. Leicester City taking on Tottenham. Tottenham, they want to open up their season very, very good. They're trying to make that push into the top four under Ange Postecoglou. They're going to be without Vis Bissouma, but I don't think that's going to be the biggest loss in terms of 1 week. So don't think that'll affect it that much. Leicester City, they're opening up their campaign now with a new manager in Steve Cooper, who's going to be a little bit more pragmatic as opposed to Enzo Maresca. A little bit more pragmatic, a little bit more, safe. And I think that might be the better option for them in terms of being able to stay up in this sort of race. I think Leicester City, they do have the belief in terms of they belong in the Premier League, which I think will be a factor in terms of staying up compared to a team like Ipswich Town that hasn't really been in this sort of moments for a while. That'll be fantastic to watch. First Premier League game in Kings Power Stadium in over a year. So I expect a great atmosphere there. And then Chelsea take on Manchester City. Will be game played at Stamford Bridge. Obviously Manchester City are massive, massive favorites just because of the horrible form Chelsea are coming in from. And Chelsea, they've given up a lot of poor goals in terms of trying to play out and trying to adapt to Enzo Maresca's system. I don't think Enzo Maresca is going to suddenly play a different system opening day just because he's playing Manchester City. I think he's going to continue, and if they suffer a 4-5-6-0 defeat, we're going to suffer a 4-5-6-0 defeat. And I think something bad is coming to Chelsea for this opening day weekend. That's just the truth. But yes, that's our full Premier League Week 1 preview.